Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty fundamental to our well-being, the impact of criticism.
Yeah, a big one. We'll be looking at how it affects us,
Yeah.
whether it comes from others or maybe even tougher,
Yeah,
that voice inside our own heads.
exactly. And we've got a real mix of sources for this practical exercises from selfcompassion.org, some advice on dealing with uh, tricky family stuff, tips for relationships.
hmm And insights on breaking that cycle, especially thinking about parenting, but it applies more broadly, really. Plus, some very real stories shared on Reddit.
Right. So the mission here for you listening is to really get under the skin of how criticism works, how it affects us.
And more than that, to walk away with some actual tools, maybe some new ways of thinking about it all. Hopefully, you'll feel better equipped to bring a bit more kindness into your life, towards yourself and others too.
Okay, so let's jump in. What really hit me going through this material was just the weight of past criticism, especially from childhood, that Reddit thread.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's full of these really raw accounts, isn't it?
Mm.
Adults looking back at having critical parents, and the echoes, they're long.
Yeah, it seems to feed into so much, like this constant background hum of anxiety or feeling just not good enough, low self-worth.
And that perfectionism thing you see pop up again and again, this like relentless drive.
It's like the anticipation of being criticized becomes its own problem. That's what I got from those Reddit stories.
Exactly. It's like you're always braced for it, isn't it?
Wow.
Almost hardwired, which, makes sense from a threat response perspective, but it creates this constant low-level anxiety.
And it doesn't stop there. People talked about struggling with trust, relationships.
Yeah, and internalizing those voices so the external critic eventually becomes your own inner critic. Some even mention physical stuff like chronic pain. That mind-body link is powerful.
It's not just vague struggle either. People shared specifics on coping therapy, obviously, but also setting really firm boundaries.
hmm Boundaries, sometimes even going low contact or no contact with family. And things like mindfulness, trying to consciously shift perspective.
It really connects to that article on breaking the cycle of criticism, doesn't it?
It does. That piece really hammers home how hurtful words can be, especially for teenagers, and how those impacts can last.
And it mentioned that sometimes parents don't even realize they're doing it, maybe repeating patterns they grew up with.
Right? Or maybe what they think is just, sarcasm or nagging actually lands really harshly. It's about the perception, too.
Oh, that's such a key point. What you intend isn't always what's received, which leads us nicely into self-criticism, that inner voice.
Yeah, the one that can be the toughest critic of all. And those selfcompassion.org exercises, they really get you thinking about this.
The first one, right. Asking how you treat friends versus yourself when you're struggling.
Exactly. It's often a bit of a light bulb moment, isn't it? You suddenly see this huge gap in kindness.
Totally. If my friend messes up, I'm all comfort and it's okay. If I mess up, well, it's a different story inside my head. Brutal sometimes.
And that third question in the exercise, why the difference?
Mm.
That really pushes you to look at the beliefs fueling that inner critic. What are you afraid of, really?
Then exercise 5 zooms right in on that inner voice itself.
It asks you to actually listen to it. Like, what words does it use? What's the tone? Does it sound like someone you know, maybe from your past?
Getting specific, identifying the patterns of your own internal judge.
Yeah, which sounds maybe a bit uncomfortable, but the next step is the crucial one. Actively trying to soften that voice, to bring in some compassion.
So consciously reframing instead of, you idiot, maybe something like,
Okay, that didn't work out. That feels disappointing. What can I learn? Meeting that harshness with the empathy you'd give a friend.
that feels like a skill you'd need to practice.
Definitely. And the DBT exercises, the dialectical behavior therapy ones on letting go of judgments, offer another angle on this.
DBT, that's often used for managing intense emotions, right?
Exactly. And this skill is about just observing the judgments that pop into your head without getting swept up.
So like noticing the thought that was stupid, but not immediately accepting it as fact.
Precisely. The exercise gives examples. Turn a judgmental thought like he's so lazy into a factual description. He hasn't done the dishes. I'm feeling annoyed.
Okay. Taking the evaluation out, just sticking to the facts and your feeling about them.
Yeah, diffuses the emotional charge a bit. And there's another exercise for repetitive judgments, those ones that loop in your head.
The ones that really grind you down.
Those ones. It guides you to describe it objectively, explore the feelings it causes, and then, this is key, imagine life without it. What would that feel like? Lighter, freer.
That sounds hopeful, actually. Visualizing being free of that weight.
It could be really motivating.
Okay, so we've looked at the impact, the inner critic. What can we actively do to build more self-compassion? Those selfcompassion.org exercises seem packed with practical stuff.
They really are. Exercise 2, the self-compassion break, is brilliant because it's so simple and you can do it anywhere.
The 3 phrases.
Mindfulness. This is a moment of suffering. Common humanity. Suffering is a part of life. And self-kindness. May I be kind to myself.
And it suggests putting your hands over your heart.
Yeah, the physical touch can be surprisingly soothing, grounding. It makes it feel more real, less abstract.
I like that. It's immediate. Then exercise 3 gets into writing.
It does. You write about something you feel inadequate about, let yourself feel the emotions. Then you write a letter to yourself, but from the perspective of this imaginary, unconditionally loving friend.
Okay, that sounds potentially quite emotional.
It can be. But the focus is total acceptance. This friend sees the flaw, understands it, accepts you completely, considers context. Reading it back can really let that compassionate perspective sink in.
And exercise 4 uses chairs. The criticizer, the criticist.
Yeah, and the compassionate observer. Yeah, it's a role-playing thing. You literally sit in different chairs representing these parts of you.
To get some distance, maybe. See the dynamic more clearly.
Exactly. You could even have a dialogue between the critic and the criticized parts. Then you step into the observer role and offer wisdom and care to both. It helps integrate them.
Interesting. And for ongoing practice, there's the journal. Exercise 6.
Right, the self-compassion journal. Basically, daily reflection. Notice things that triggered self-judgment, process them with mindfulness, acknowledge the common humanity bit, and then write kind words to yourself, building that muscle.
It sounds like consistent effort really pays off.
It seems to. And finally, exercise 7 tackles using self-criticism as motivation. I have to be hard on myself to succeed.
Oh, yeah. That's a common one.
This exercise helps you see the pain that causes and explore kinder ways to motivate yourself, ways rooted in wanting health and happiness, not fear.
Okay, so that's a lot on the self-compassion front. But what about when the criticism comes from outside? Other people, relationships.
Crucial area. That Taylor Counseling Group article on boundaries with difficult family. Really important. It highlights how much those dynamics can impact our mental health.
Setting boundaries isn't always easy, though.
No,
Oh.
definitely not. But necessary sometimes to protect yourself. And then in romantic relationships, that Psychology Today piece stresses how vital kindness is.
But talked about barriers, didn't it? Fear of intimacy. Something called a fantasy bond. What's that exactly?
Yeah, the fantasy bond, it's sort of like creating an illusion of connection or security in the relationship that actually prevents real deep intimacy. Like you merge identities in a way that keeps you safe but also distant. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Like prioritizing the idea of the relationship over the actual connection.
Something like that. And the critical inner voice, of course, plays a huge role, often spilling out onto the partner.
So the article gave advice, concrete things.
7 points, yeah. Things like feeling your feelings but choosing kind actions anyway. Breaking old negative patterns, not escalating arguments like dropping your half with kindness.
Not projecting your old stuff onto your current partner.
Right, and being mindful of their needs, showing care in ways they understand, not just how you like it, and ditching the scorekeeping.
That tit-for-tat thing, it all sounds like conscious effort. Love as an action, not just a feeling.
Absolutely. And those principles from the Breaking the Cycle article for parents, they apply everywhere. Think before speaking, more encouragement than criticism, patience, asking questions.
Considering the other person's feelings, even when correcting them. You mentioned boundaries earlier. From the Taylor counseling piece, it feels like that needs self-compassion too, right? To actually set the boundary.
Oh, definitely. You need to believe you deserve to protect your well-being, even if it causes friction. It's all linked.
And then there's the general How to Stop Being Critical of Others article. It linked criticism to ego.
Yeah, suggesting it's often about making ourselves feel better or superior. It pushes for a shift. Focus on positives, not faults.
It had those everyday games, which I thought was a neat idea.
Like consciously have someone's back. Choose a kinder response. Ask questions instead of assuming. Be a curious detective.
Question your own judgments. How do I know that's true? And the classic, if you can't say anything nice.
Right. And it made that key distinction. Criticism aims to blame or devalue, while feedback is about improvement, about behavior. Huge difference.
Yeah, that's really useful. And finally, that University of Reading article just doubled down on kindness itself.
It did. The benefits for both giver and receiver, mentally, even physically, they use that acronym, cakey.
Consistent acts of kindness and empathy.
Yeah, promoting it as a mindset, not just random acts, but a consistent approach. They even had like a one-week plan with small, doable kind acts each day.
Just building the habit.
Exactly.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it feels like the big takeaway is that criticism, internal or external, it really does have deep effect.
It really does. But, and this is the hopeful part, we're not just stuck with it. We can actively cultivate self-compassion. Those practices, the break, the kind self-talk, journaling, they work.
And in relationships, it boils down to kindness, empathy, and those crucial boundaries.
And learning to shift from automatic judgment to just observing, non-judgmentally.
Yeah.
It seems like a core skill underlying a lot of this.
So for everyone listening, maybe the final thought to take away is this. Think about one area, just one, where you tend to be most critical. Maybe it's yourself, maybe it's someone else, maybe a situation.
Yeah, pinpoint that one area, and then drawing on everything we've talked about, the exercises, the ideas, what's one small concrete step you could take, maybe even today?
Just one small step to bring a little more kindness, a bit more understanding into that specific space.
What could that tiny shift do? What ripple effects might it have? Not just for you, but maybe for others around you too. Something to think about.